All right, good morning and welcome back to Rapid Dawn right here on Rapid TV. It's the 9 o'clock hour, and of course, you know, we have the big conversations at 9. My name is Martha Alu.
And of course, my name is Victor. Okay, welcome back.
Welcome back. Now, today on the program, we're turning our attention to an area that sits at the heart of Nigeria's growth story: skills, innovations, and human capital development. We're talking technical, vocational, entrepreneurship, and education, or TVEE as you'd like. And it remains one of the strongest pathways for reducing youth unemployment, strengthening productivity, and building a workforce that can truly compete in today's global economy. Yet many Nigerians still ask the very important question: what exactly is the government doing to reposition skills acquisition? And how is vocational education being modernized? What opportunities exist for young people, MSMEs, artisans, creators, and innovators? And what role does the presidency play in making all of these work? Now, this morning, we're joined by someone right at the center of those answers. And we're talking about the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Technical, Vocational, Entrepreneurship, and Education. And it's a key office that is responsible for designing, coordinating, and driving critical interventions that help Nigerians acquire employable skills, build businesses, and access opportunities in emerging digital and creative economy. And we'll be exploring the progress so far, exploring some of the things that have been done while she is in office, because of course she still occupies that office. We're talking about Dr. ABIOLA AROGUNDADE. Good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
It's such an amazing thing to sit having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Especially because technical and vocational skills is such an important conversation that we need to have, seen as the unemployment rate in Nigeria, I think it's 60% right now, and it's such a declining number. Other parts of the world have been able to suppress or contain that number because they moved from a point where their young people are just waiting to get white-collar jobs or blue-collar jobs to now being employers of labor. So they are creating jobs for themselves by being fully involved in AI, technology, and all of that. So now let's ask, for many Nigerians who might not be fully aware or understand what your office is about, can you break down the exact mandate and the scope of your office?
Thank you very much. Such a great question. My office is called the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Technical, Vocational, and Entrepreneurship Education. So what our mandate is to scale up, or actually skill the youth of Nigeria. And when I say youth, we're talking from 50 to 35, but in our office we go all the way up to even 45. Okay. So what we do is we try to train them. So we train people at different levels. We train people that don't have any skills at all, and we encourage them to start the introductory stage of the training. So what we do is like a baseline to see where you are. Some people just need a little bit of a scale up. I'll give you an example. One of the people that came to one of our training programs, his name is Pius. He was a graduate in electronics. He was a electronics and engineering. So he came for one of our projects, solar installation. He couldn't get a job for 2 years after he graduated. So what we did is we just gave him an intensive training. Today he's gotten a job with Julius Berger, and he's also doing side solar installation. So those are the kind of testimonies that we have. So what our mandate is, as you asked, is to train the Nigerian youth to be able to use their hands to make money and empower themselves.
Is this training, or are this training specific to just the graduates in Nigeria or also non-graduates?
No, as I mentioned before, we're doing it at all levels. So whatever level you are before, even if you don't have any kind of even if you've not been to school before, even if you don't have secondary school education, we can still train you. Even if you're waiting to go into university, we can train you. So we train at all levels. So we start with doing a baseline studies to examine where you are in terms of your skills, and then from there we take it from there. Some people do 3 different courses, some people just 1. We do long-term courses, which can go from 3 to 6 months. We do short courses, which can go for 2 weeks. We do courses which can go for 1 month. So it really depends on where you are and what you want to do.
Okay. Now, do you think that this can actively contributing to the reduction of the numbers of people that are unemployed in Nigeria? Because aside from the fact that we understand that a lot of Nigerians need to move from the point where they're talking about just these jobs and now being actively involved in skills, right? we cannot also deny the economic situation and the economic climate in Nigeria. But do you think that these interventions that your office carry out can significantly reduce the number of unemployed people?
So there's a target that the president has to remove 15 million people out of poverty. And of course, there are different offices that are all tied into that. So everybody is contributing. We have my office, of course. We have the Ministry of Education. We have the Ministry of Women Affairs. We have different ministries. So everybody contributes their own quota to remove all the people out of poverty. But what we are specializing in is training them. But we're doing it through backwards integration. We're not just training them, we're also partnering with the private sector. So we partner with the private sector to find out what skills they need or what kind of skill set they are looking for. So when we partner with them, when they tell us, then we train them in that skill. For example, we had leatherworks training in Lagos, where we partnered with the company. They actually trained them in the company, and 50% of the people that were trained were retained and got jobs. So those are the kind of methodologies that we're using to make sure that we're not just training them to give them a certificate. We're bringing dignity back into their lives. We're giving them jobs for them to be able to take care of themselves, their family, and for their communities to be able to see hope and to see if one person in my community's life is changed, what can that do for me? So it's bringing hope and dignity back into the community, and not by giving them handouts, but by giving them hand-ups for them to be able to empower themselves. You know what they say, there's a difference between you giving me a fish to eat for one day and a fishing rod. What we're doing is giving them fishing rods for them to be able to eat every single day of their lives.
Of course, we have also seen some of the challenges when it comes to vocational education here in Nigeria. And some Nigerians actually see vocational education as a second-class kind of alternative as it is. Are there things that your office is also doing to ensure that there's an orientation in this particular manner so that people will not be looked at as second-class individuals just because they're having vocational skills, especially those that are not in school?
Yes, so what we do is we're creating awareness. Like even on our platform, on our Instagram page, we create awareness to explain to people and show them other countries, like, you know, there's Germany, who actually in the formal schooling, they introduce vocational education, and that's what they use to reduce their unemployment drastically. So we show them that the level of jobs that people have in other countries and the kind of money they are making for skilled jobs actually really pay. So it's very important for them to understand that it's not if you don't go to university that makes you a reject or that makes you lower than the person that did. We need these skills to be able to develop our country, because what would we do if we don't have plumbers? What would we do if we don't have carpenters? What would we do if we don't have people that have AI skills? And tech is the next best thing. So one of the things that we're doing is we're making sure that even our training, we just finished training in cybersecurity, we finished training in AI, we finished training in graphic designs, and this training is it's a global phenomenon now. So it's to show them that these skills that you have in your hands can take you to the next level and sustain you.
Okay. Now let's talk about the acceptability of these ideas that you have by the Nigerian people. Because it's one thing to want to effect change in a certain area, and it's another thing for the people to be ready to embrace that kind of change that you're willing to introduce. And I'll take part of what he said. Some of the reasons that people do not like to get involved in handwork is because of the orientation that most people have. Farming, for instance, previously we saw farmers as the ones that are untidy, they are poor. If a person says I'm a farmer, it's most likely a poor person in the village. That's the picture of a farmer that we have, until we started to see a lot of reorientation where people now know that, oh, farming, I can be in the supply chain of farming. I don't necessarily need to be in the farm to do the dirty work. And even if I'm in the farmland to do the dirty work, that's such an honorable thing to do, right? So how is the acceptance level of the young people to come up? Because I know you call out for these trainings. Do they turn up? Are they willing to learn? Do they take on these as serious as they would a formal education?
I'm very happy to say that people really turn up in the thousands. Even when we post and say we're training 1,000 people, we're training 3,000 people, at our gates we see so many people. There's a training that we did on lock trading, where we trained 7,000 people. We had about 20,000 entries, which we had to cut down to 10,000. And after we cut it down to 10,000, we then trained 7,000. So there's a lot of demand. So it's really on us to be able to even supply. The demand is actually higher than the supply. But what we're doing is trying to tailor suit our curriculum to fit the industries, to fit if you want to be an entrepreneur, to fit the global community as well, and make sure we train them with the right skills. So it's not just about giving you a certificate, but it's about changing your life and bringing dignity back into your community, your life, and your family.
All right. And again, some of the complaints that we've heard in the past, I don't know if that still happens now, is the fact that some of the equipment that you use for the vocational trainees are outdated as it is. Is that still the case as of now?
Well, the National Board of Technical Education have 600 technical colleges around Nigeria. And then, of course, you know, I sit on the community, I'm the Committee of Skills with the Vice President. So one of the targets is to revamp all these technical colleges. So they are working on it. Of course, there are some that needs to be remodeled, and we need more equipment, like more in the modern time and modern age. But this is something that the government has thought about and something that we're working on, and something that's definitely going to be improved in the future. But in my office, we definitely use state of the art. Both our trainers, we get them both that have international experience. When we train in cybersecurity, we give everybody brand new laptops so that when they learn to make websites or put codes in, they're using that laptop, and that's the laptop they go and take away with them. So we're doing everything in our power to make sure that on a global scale, you can actually compete. So what we encourage them to do is actually, when they finish, we sit down with them how to get jobs online. Some people are getting jobs online in Dubai, some people are getting jobs all over the world. So you must have the skills to compete. So it's not just for Nigeria. You can still be living in Nigeria, but making money in dollars and any other currency.
Okay. The question I always would like to ask when I hear that there's an empowerment program is, what is the selection criteria, and what is the selection process like? Because many times we say, okay, we want to empower these people, empower that people. We look at the big cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and the people in some of these rural communities are somewhat overlooked because of reach. Again, they might not have access to the information that can even let them know that such an empowerment is going on. They don't know. They don't have mobile phones. They don't even if they have mobile phones, they don't have access to internet. So what plan or what structure does your office have to ensure that this transformation is parodic, such that it touches every level of society?
Okay, thank you for your question. Very good question, if I must say. What we do, our methodology for picking and our criteria for picking are in different forms. So we post on our website, we post on our social media page, and then those that have access to the internet fill a questionnaire. Then from the questionnaire, we'll be able to shortlist to see if you are eligible for that particular training. Apart from that, you know, we partner with different states. So we partner, for instance, in Delta, we're partnering with the Olu of Warri. So they also help us tell us who the grassroots people are, people that don't have access to the internet that we need to train. Of course, after that, we do verification, because every list that we get, we do verification. I don't know if you've seen one of our videos of us actually going into the houses to verify with the parents to see you are who you say you are, and you need what you say you need, and to understand your community. So we're working on different methodologies. The methodology we use for that is random sampling. So we just choose different people, and we don't even tell them we're coming. We go to visit, we put them on camera, we make sure that they need that, and we also make sure that they have the determination to start and to finish the course, because we don't want people that are not dedicated. So we try to understand you, we let you fill the questionnaires, we verify, and then once we see that you're suited, we are definitely able to accommodate you.
And those that have those that do not have access to internet, how do they get about this sort of thing?
So that's what I just mentioned. Like, we partner with people in the local communities. Like, we partner with the Olu of Warri, and you know that with the local chairmen, and they give us lists of people that are not. And you know, often the question they ask us is, we don't have money to get your training. How do we get there? So we're thinking about them. We provide the money for them to get there. They will say, if we come, we're going to be hungry. We can't eat. We provide food for them to eat. Another thing we do is we also orientation to tell them you can do it. What you need to do is you need to be dedicated from this time to this time. We're going to give you this laptop to empower you. Some people need more help than others, so we continue to mentor them until we see that they're in a stage where they're empowered, they're making money. So I'll give you an example of one of the artists that we trained. His name is Darlington. When he came to us, you know, we went to his house to verify. We met his mother, and honestly, his father couldn't afford for him to finish school. There were a lot of things that were not going right, so we understood that the passion was there. So we taught him how to take his business to another level. So he worked with us. We empowered him with the 500,000 naira. Today, he invited me for his gallery launch at the airport, which is fantastic. He started selling his arts work at 200. Now he's selling at 700. He started some at 50,000. Those ones have gone to 200,000. Some have gone to 700,000. He even sold one to me, and I had a few people that bought for him. So I'm so happy for him. He's opening an online gallery now, which he wanted me to come and be the guest of honor, which I will be. So we're making sure that the impact that we have on people's life are seen, are felt, and the community are also seeing it, because there's nothing like bringing hope into a community. And I think the best advertisement is somebody else's life that you saw was this way and came for our cause, and the person's life changed. That also talks to the community. We have people that come and knock on our doors and tell us, oh, a friend of ours did a course here, we want to do it. So we register them, we have their details, and when we have courses, we continue to, send them messages, contact them to make them enroll, and we keep a lot of people on our database and just make sure that when we're supplying jobs, it meets the demand out there.
Okay. Another question I would love to ask is about duplication of effort. Now, one of the major criticisms that come to these government interventions is the fact that this office has done this, another office goes and does the exact same thing. Let's say an office is doing, solar installation training, which you have done. Another one does the same thing, and you'd see multiple people doing the same thing, the same project. So, how do you ensure that your programs do not replicate the effort of others, and you try to be as innovative as possible with the projects and the trainings that you introduce?
I'll ask you a question. Do you know how many youth we have in Nigeria? 107 million youth. So even if one ministry is doing solar and I'm doing solar, the key thing is that how do we cover everybody? So we can do the same course, but we just make sure the beneficiaries are not the same, because we want a wide coverage. So I feel like even if the Ministry of Women Affairs are empowering people and training them on solar, and I'm doing so, but once we're in communication and once we're working together to make sure that we're not training the same people, then I think it's a very good effort, because we have to cover 107 million youth, and even 40% of those youth are not working. So our job really is to make sure that we cover as much as we can. So I don't see any problem in that.
Duplicating.
Yes.
But the problem here now would be that, let's say you have trained this set of people. What structure do you have to make sure that when there's another project, because these projects are done independently by different offices, right? And I don't know if you have such synchrony in data collection, where that you have done this project. This ministry knows that, okay, I have empowered this person. There's no need to come here and empower this, because data has been such a big problem in this part of the world where we're living. So how do you know that this person has been empowered, and there will be no need to replicate that effort by giving the person something that another person that could have changed the life of another person? So
there are a few ministries that we work very closely with: Women Affairs, Humanitarian, a few ministries that I work with. So sometimes they actually submit lists to us as well for us to train. So we make sure that the people that we're training, we publish their names, and we publish them and send it to the ministry and the ministries that we do work with. So we really, really make sure that we're detailed, to make sure, like in my office, for example, if you've done one course, you can't come and do another course for another 1 year, unless you're going to we're upscaling you. So we monitor those people. So what we do is we try to upscale and see where you are. If you started with us and maybe you did solar installation and you're making 200,000 a month, and you come to us and say that, oh, this has really changed my life and we want to move to the next level. So what we do is we upscale your training to make sure that we can put you out there, and next thing you're making 500,000 a month. So that's the kind of thing we do. But everybody that we train, we do publish this on our website, so everybody can see and know those who are being trained.
Do you think it's sustainable? Do you think this process is very sustainable? Because you need funding to constantly do these projects. And it takes a lot of money. In fact, from the last of your project, I saw that you have spent about over 100 million naira on a particular project, right? How do you get the funding for this project? That's one question. And secondly, do you think that it's a sustainable process?
Okay. So on the particular project you're talking about, which is called Unlock, we partnered with the private sector, Providence Bank as well. We partnered with them. So it was a partnership between government and the private sector. So we have different kinds of methodologies for different projects. And then when we partner with them, we decide together as a committee and look at the methodology. We look at the right figure that we think when we want to empower, what do you think will change their lives? What will take them to the next level? So with that particular project on empowerment, we made the 7,000 of them write business plans. And when they wrote business plans, we looked at their business plans and how much they needed to actually move to the next level. So us, in partnership with the bank that we work with, in partnership with my office, we now decided that a minimum of 500 for them to move to the next level. So that's how we did that. So how we sustain that is working with the private sector, which is very important. But we also have some projects which are totally 100% funded by government, like the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy. And that is one of the projects that want to remove 15 million people out of poverty. So what we do with that is it's already a government project, it's a program. So we look at it, and what we do is we actually empower with startup kits. So that's where we did cybersecurity, and we gave them laptops, because we know if you're training somebody in cybersecurity and they don't have the equipment to do it, then there's no point. These skills will they'll begin to forget as time goes on. So we give them the skills and we check up on them. A lot of them have been able to secure jobs online. There's a particular person that is actually, his name is Femi, he has actually built an IT consulting company. So not only are they empowering themselves, they're empowering the community. So.
You know, so skill is one thing, competence is another as well. As a matter of fact, we've had issues with competence. You know, and we could relate due to one or two projects we've done thus far. Are there platforms as well after the training that the people are also being monitored for you know, constant competence, you know, in the delivery of their skills that they've learned from your office as well?
Yes, we have a monitoring and evaluation unit, and what we do is when you finish the training, we actually continue to work with you. So some of these jobs that people got, they didn't get it 1 week after the training. We worked with them, some of them 1 month after, some 3 months, so we continue to work with them. And where the need is, and we feel like you need a little bit more training, we can invite you back to join phase 2 for us to brush up your skills. We also, as I said before, backward integration, we're working with the private sector. Like one of the companies that was actually training them on cybersecurity, one of the trainers owned a company, and he employed quite a few of them, on the people that he felt were very passionate, the people that he felt were showing up every day on time, the people that he felt, they actually employed them. So, so we're working with them to make sure that they have all the skills they need, and as they go along, we monitor them and invite them back if we feel like they need to brush up their skills and try to put them into jobs, because we're not in the business of just giving certificates. We're in the business of changing lives and bringing dignity back. So that's what we're doing.
All right. I want to ask another question, which would be about, you know, we talked about sustainability, and when I was referring to sustainability, it's not just about the funding that you get to carry out this project. It's about the continuity of these projects that you carry out. You might not be in this office tomorrow. You might be there. Years later, you might not be there, and someone comes into the office. Is there a structure that you have built now while you're in office to ensure that regardless of who occupies this position, there is a laid down structure, so much so that when the person comes in, they know that these are the kinds of projects that should be carried out in such an office? That's one. Secondly, in schools, we hear that the curriculum has been, you know, there's an adjustment in the school's curriculum where we no longer have all of the subjects for the formal education, which is mathematics, English, and all of that. We now have vocational skills and vocational trainings that should be carried out, particularly in the schools. How do you think that these people can be helped with materials that can enforce this teaching? Because if you go to a lot of technical schools, you'd see that their tools are almost next to nothing. If you go to some of those science labs, you see that it's almost empty. So these people learn theoretically, and practically they are left to figure or navigate that after education. How do you think that your office can intervene here to make sure that the project is as sustainable as possible?
Okay. Thank you so much. As I mentioned before, on the committee that we're in on skills, they're working on all the things that you've mentioned in terms of like making sure that vocational training is coming into formal schools. The Ministry of Education is working on all the centers, which I mentioned, 600 centers, making sure that they have the right equipment for the people in the school. They also, you know, in the schools, they are putting together labs and vocational centers to make sure all the equipment are in there so that they have the state-of-the-art equipment. We are also working, as part of a member of the committee, also working on the methodology to make sure and to push this advocacy to come as soon as possible. So we're working tirelessly to make sure that the children and the youth of Nigeria have the right skills, because theory is one thing. One of the key principles of our office is practical. So we need you to have, that's why when we're empowering you, we don't just empower you with things that cannot make you move to the next level. We're making sure you have the equipment to be empowered so that you can practice not only when you get into school or into the center, but even at home. You know, something that becomes a part of you can continue to practice. So it's something the government has thought about. It's something the president is very passionate about, and you can see his passion through him introducing technical, vocational, and entrepreneurship fund into NEL fund. So it's something that he's very, very passionate about. He himself has come out to say skills is a very important part of reducing unemployment in the country, because we want people to be empowered in their house. So the president has put it forward, and he's also backed it up with money to make sure that all these equipments and all these students have been able to be trained with the right equipment that can make them play on a global scale.
Is there a timeline for that? Because we hear that now you've started that the president is working on it, but what's the timeline?
So no, it's already been approved. So
Okay.
it's actually a NEL fund, so they're working on it. So it's something that's already been approved. So it's not something he's working on, something he's done already. So it's already been approved. But so it's really for NEL fund to tell us when they're going to start with the loans. Yes,
Okay.
but it's something that's already been approved.
All right. So
Yeah.
in taking up these opportunities right now, what should Nigerian youth, what are we supposed to do to take up some of these opportunities, of course, when it comes to vocational skill and learning?
In my office, or
Yes, your office
yes?
and
Oh,
generally.
so please, what I would just really advise you to do is please look very closely on our Instagram page, on our website, to see the projects that we're putting out there. We also publish in the newspapers. We have a lot of people reaching out to our office. Most of the people that come, they just knock on the door and say we want to register, and we keep their details in the database. We work with the chairman in local governments who gives us lists and phone numbers. We text them. We're also publishing in the newspaper. So the office is constantly bringing out projects. So I'll just encourage you to apply, encourage you to, apply to as many courses as you can. And then even when you're filling your application, please tell us about yourself, why you're so passionate and how much you need it. You might see us one day knocking on your door, because we come to verify to make sure you are who you say you are, and we're ready to train with you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for helping us break this down as much as possible. It's already the half of the hour. We'll go out on a very short break, and when we get back, we'll conclude the conversation with Dr. ABIOLA. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. It's still Rapid Done right here on Rapid TV, still grinding at the 9 o'clock hour. And we have been having conversations centered around technical, vocational, entrepreneurship education with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on TVEE. That's really too long to pronounce sometimes. All right, thank you so much, Ma, for being here with us again. Okay, let's ask, seeing all of these interventions, where do you see TVEE in the next couple of years? Because if you look at places like China, look at places like Germany, where they are heavily focused on technical and vocational education. In fact, some of these people do not go through formal education. They just find an interest, or they are being able to identify an interest in the children, and almost immediately they put them along those lines. Where do you see Nigeria, in the next couple of years?
Talking about that, if you look at Germany, in Germany, 20% of their secondary school aged students enroll in technical schools, while in South Korea it's about 17%, where majorly that was how they were able to help top industries like Samsung and Hyundai grow. So of course, where do we see Nigeria? That's where we have to go. Skills is the next thing, and it's the thing that we continue to do and will continue to do. And that's why, as I mentioned before, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already approved the budget for technical, vocational, and entrepreneurship education, where students can now come and take loans and go into technical colleges, both private and government technical colleges, and learn skills. So skills are very important. Skills is what is going to help us reduce unemployment. Skills is what is going to help the country make all the youth engaged. Skills is what is going to empower them. Skills is also what is going to bring dignity back into the community where people are able to, you're able to empower one person with skills and you feed a whole family. Skills is what is going to be able to help you put money on the table, where people are going to be able to afford medicine or to go to a hospital where they couldn't before, where people are going to be able to afford 3 meals a day in their family where before they couldn't. We have so many testimonies in our office from where people started and where they are now. They've moved to the next level. So I think skills is definitely the way forward.
Are we looking at the made in Nigeria concept as well? You know, because you mentioned where you talked about Germany, you know, Samsung as it is. Are we looking at some products that are made in Nigeria that can actually be supported by the government, by some of these persons that are getting the skills from your office, and of course seeing how we can use the products made in Nigeria and also making it to be a global product from Nigeria?
Of course. So, you know, we do different kind of courses, fashion and design. So we have so many fashion designers that that come to train them. So they come and they make made in Nigeria clothes, and some of them are exported, you know, out of the country. If you look at fashion designers like Lisa Idowu, she makes her clothes here and they're selling in Selfridges in England. So we're definitely supporting our local companies and of course, making sure that when they export, they know that they are made in Nigeria. We're training the locals. So this is something that we are definitely partnering with top Nigerian companies to make sure that when we train, they employ the people that we've trained.
Now, you talked about the website where Nigerians that are interested in the education that can go there and, of course, apply. What's the website?
So we actually, what we do is there are 2 different things. We have our social media page, which is just my name, Dr. ABIOLA AROGUNDADE, and there's a questionnaire on the page. So once you fill the questionnaire, it automatically, when you've been qualified, it automatically takes you to the website where you can choose what you want. So I'll just advise you to just look at our social media page, our Facebook page, and see what we have posted. And then once we do that, we also post in the newspapers, so in the newspapers as well. So please just do it that way and fill the questionnaire, because the questionnaire will be able for us to tell you where to go and what medium to take and what courses are right for you.
Okay. How many projects have you been able to carry out so far?
So far, we've carried out 11 projects. The 11th one is ongoing. That's the POS project, where we're empowering 100 people with POSs and giving them 100,000 naira to start up. So what we're trying to do is just to encourage people to be engaged. We've also carried out projects like the Unlock project, where we trained 7,000 people on how to write business plans, you know, to encourage entrepreneurs. The best 200 of them were given 500,000 naira each to start up their business. We've done projects on solar kiosk, where we have some solar kiosks. We took solar kiosks to Wuse Market. There was a hairdresser there to empower her, because she was just literally in the market and calling people and had nowhere to put her customers. We've given out solar kiosks also for chefs, you know, so you can just have a solar kiosk on the road, you know, you want to eat, you know, like you see in different countries. We've carried out the project of the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy, where we trained people on cyber security, we trained on graphic design, we trained on solar installation. We've also had our leather works training, which we did in Nigeria, where we trained people in leather works, taught them how to make leather boots, and this company actually supplies leather boots for the Army, the Navy. So what we did with that, one of our methodologies in that was 50% of the best trainees were actually empowered, and they are working different shifts in the company. So we've done 11 projects so far.
And of course, you mentioned the president actually looking at to 15 million people, correct? If I'm not making a mistake, 15 million people. How do you measure that on yearly basis? Are we looking at a specific number of students on yearly basis, or is just as it comes?
So what we're doing is everybody submits, you know, on a yearly basis what they've been able to achieve. So in our office, we've been able to empower about 11,000 people.
So is there a mandate for the number?
No, there's no mandate for the number for my office,
okay.
But I'm sure there's a mandate for the number in Ministry of Education and how they're doing it. But in my office, because you know I'm just an office, I'm not a ministry or an agency, I'm just a senior special assistant to the president. But whatever empowerment I do, I just make sure it's published. I also send it to the Ministry of Education. I'm working very closely with the Ministry of Budget, so we're working together, so they have those details of how many people that we are training, especially under the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy. So we have a committee that sits together, so we know, like in each state, we make sure we go to every single geopolitical zone, how many people we've trained there under the project, what skills, what starter kits we gave them, how to empower them onto the next level.
So you have those, you have that data.
Of course, we have that data.
Absolutely. All right, I think this is where we draw the curtain for the conversation today. But before we go, we'll ask one very last question. If you were to summarize your mission, you know, in a few sentences, what would it be, and what would you expect Nigerians to see, you know, from your office? Because like I said from the start of the hour, many people might not be so conversant with what your office does, and that's because, you know, the information might be reaching a particular set of people, which is why I asked what measures have you put in place to ensure that it gets across to everybody. So if you were to summarize, what would you say, and what should the young people be expecting from your office?
So if I wanted to summarize my office, I would say skills, skills, and skills. So we're using skills to empower you. We're using skills to remove you out of unemployment. We're using skills to bring dignity back into your life, back into your family's life, and back into the community. So what I'll do is I'll encourage you to come onto our website, encourage you to come onto our social media pages to look at the courses we're doing. And I encourage you to register for the course. And then when you do register, and you are shortlisted, and I'll encourage you to show up every day. I'll encourage you to do the course and take it as seriously as you can. And I'll encourage you to finish the course. And then when you do finish the course, take what you're entitled to, your starter kit, which might be a laptop, which might be anything. One thing I want to say is that no government owes anybody a living, but what they owe you is the opportunity to make a living. So the president has put this opportunity at your doorstep. So please apply, because we really want you to be trained and have the skill. So what the president is now doing, he's putting a ball at your foot, but it's your job to kick that ball. So I encourage you to kick the ball as hard as you can. And what do I mean by that? Apply for the course, do the course, show up for the course, and change your life. Your destiny is in your hands.
Thank you very much.
Well, you already had that. Your destiny is in your hands, absolutely. What are your thoughts on this, Victor?
Well, I think it's a great initiative. One of the things that we need as a nation is for us to be empowered properly. And that empowerment comes from skill acquisition. And I think every young Nigerian needs that skill. And that was why I asked the question about made in Nigeria, because we need people that will be able to get the products out of Nigeria and make sure that our products are globally recognized. We have our Abba brothers that does this thing very
Gucci.
massively. You know?
Gucci of the song sheet.
And that's where they now come to branding as well. You know, name it what you want to name it. You can name it, you know, Okechukwu. So you don't necessarily need to be, you know, all of the foreign brands. Those are their brands. But if we look into the Nigerian youth, as much as possible, I believe that we can actually be able to grow ourselves to that point where the small economy, which of course is the backbone of every economy, can be properly strengthened. And I do hope that lots of Nigerians will actually get access to these trainings, me inclusive.
Okay. And I think that an average individual should be able to have at least 2 skills that they should earn from. Because this whole idea of the white-collar jobs where people just look for, carry CVs all around and going to get jobs, I think we're way past the era where you should be waiting to get jobs. And I think you should get to a point where you now create jobs. You never can. I mean, people have multiple streams of income. And most of those skills, those income come from skills. And skill is something that cannot be taken away from you. You have it for life. So it can be hairdressing. Who knew that hairdressing would earn people as much money as it does right now? Do you know what it means to braid your hair these days? Super expensive. So it can be hairdressing, it can be makeup artistry, it can be art, it can be whatever. It's important that you take yourself from the point where you wait to be given to where you now create and give to other people.
Exactly.
And that will be the summary of the conversation we've had today. Thank you so much, Ma, for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much.
Truly appreciate your presence here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have been with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Technical, Vocational, Entrepreneurship Education, and she's been able to walk us through some of the projects that she has carried out or been able to carry out or will still be carrying out, you know, while she's in office. And we expect so much from that office personally. Looking forward to all the projects that she's set to carry out. Now, we'll wrap up the show for today. It's time to go. It's time to go. All right, we'll wrap up the show for today. It's been an amazing time hanging out with you from the hour of 7 to the hour of almost 10 o'clock. Just to remind you, we are active across social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, that is now X at Rapid TV. On YouTube, we make sure that all of these episodes are uploaded there just so you can rewatch. This is something that you want to share to your friends and family, letting them know there's something available for them to key into. It is at Official Rapid TV. Our website allows you to connect with us from anywhere in the world. It's www.rbnradiotv.com. Once again, my name is Martha Alu.
And I am Victor. Okay, see you tomorrow.